Carrier, obviously, for sure, woke up at Worlds and looked way better.
He didn't
I
even have to
mean,
take off his jacket today.
yeah, he even kept on the whole time
He
today.
had his jacket
It's
on the whole time.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia, Season 9, Episode 38, another road episode. This is after our first ever tournament format where we squished the quarterfinals next to the semifinals and just steamrolled all the way through them. Much like just today, T1 steamrolled through TES. But before we get to that, we got exciting North American news. We're very sad because we got eliminated first from this Worlds, but we got some sweet news super quickly. Team Liquid already re-signed Quid, so we're not losing him to KC.
Well, not re-signed. Apparently, have signed. It's not official, but that's the rumor. Is that Quid is going to join TL. There's also some rumors going around that they're trying to get Inspired too. Inspired might still go with FlyQuest or might go some different teams. So, no, I mean that had me excited. I was definitely nervous with 100 Thieves, being gone, that we would lose some of the top players because we're obviously going to lose River since he's going to military. So I was really hoping we would keep Quid because I just feel like you need a good mid laner to do anything international. So it's pretty hype. I mean, if TL, they haven't officially announced all this stuff, but they have Core and Yon doing their fan meets, so obviously they're staying. And Quid apparently is joining, and then you can think, oh well, if they got like Inspired and Dokla, or like I've heard even rumors about like Inspired and Castle and stuff. I don't know. It'd probably be a pretty sick team.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they're trying to be necessarily secretive about it because they were tweeting at Quid as soon as 100 Thieves got knocked out. They were like, hey man, looking for a team next split. So, I mean, dude, I got to give it to Liquid though. As far as people to go after and pick up, like, they seem to be looking in the right spots, Inspired Quid. I don't know if there's many more promising people you can get than that. So, yeah, I mean, looking good for Liquid next season if they do end up getting those guys.
I mean, this is kind of the excitement that I needed during this long lull period that we have. I feel like even though super teams often crash, as we have also just seen a super team crash on the international stage just yesterday in Gen G. In North America, we're very well accustomed to our super teams also crashing, but I don't care because it's always exciting either way. Everyone wants to either watch them succeed or crash and burn again. It's always going to be fun. You can make fun of them for spending a bunch of money and making a super team and still failing, or you could go, oh, look how good we are, and we're going to do so well at internationals. And so that's why I just feel like this was, the perfect like gift from Team Liquid. So thank you, Team Liquid. I also was going to mention, their tweets because they've been really cheeky about it. They've been tweeting at all these off-season players. And I was hoping that we'd be able to re-sign like all of our star players back to North America. I'm still working on the River green card. I got actually some promising candidates for for marriage partners for him. So I forwarded them along. That's all I could
Yeah,
do.
you keep telling us that you're working on it, but I haven't seen any progress. I haven't seen him on any dating shows, any Real Housewives or anything.
This update is that I actually did send him some of the candidates. So, I can't like make love happen, but if it does, then it does. And then we'll all benefit because, he'll be able to stay and play for us. But yeah, I think that's that's pretty much all the North American news that we have, but I think it is very good, promising news.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like all you need is that crumb of hope to get you through the off season, because then you're like, ooh, they could be pretty good. Oh, maybe we're gonna smack at you. Like, you start getting a bit excited. So, no, I'm hyped for it. I definitely was thinking, oh man, it would suck if we lost like Inspired and FlyQuest breaks up and like Quid leaves and all these things happen. That would have really sucked. So I'm really excited for it, and it's already got me looking forward to next split.
Who Just because it's always fun to theory craft the super team as well that you would like to make. Who would your preferred top laner be, assuming we get we get a super team of Inspired also joining, like assuming Team Liquid's also able to land him using whatever dark magic they use to get Quid. I don't know how deep the don't know how deep the pocketbook actually is at the moment for any teams in North America, but whatever they did worked. So yeah, what would be your dream top laner to cap it off? Because it would need to be a North American top laner because
Yeah.
they would be full on import slots.
I mean, I think the obvious one is Dokla because he had a good Worlds performance. I don't think he was like amazing during the regular season, but I do think Dokla is the obvious NA one. I'm trying to think about like other possible NA people. It's like you would have to maybe try to steal someone from a team. There's people like Fudge that count as a resident. There's like Sniper that might be available. There's not like a ton of top laners though in NA that are like usually like, the best top laners. So it is interesting, right? Because that's a big trade off too. But you have to think it's like if they don't get inspired, what jungler would you get that doesn't count as an import that allows you to get, Castle or whoever that you had heard rumored?
So the one that I haven't heard anyone bring up is Impact because Impact had a pretty bad exit, but he does count as a North American resident
Mhm.
because he was grandfathered in so early on. He's been here for so long. Or actually, I think he also has a green card.
I think so, yeah.
I think actually both him and Core JJ have their green card. So, I mean, do you think something like that would be exciting, or would that make you a little deflated if he came back?
I don't have any really big problem with it, but I just don't think TL would do it again because it's like they already had him, then they left, and then they haven't said anything about him. So it's like seems very clear that he's gone from TL. So I just can't imagine them bringing him back again. I feel like it would be more likely that if anything, they'd take a swing on someone from tier 2 or like something like that. Because we have seen that be successful a number of times where it's like you pair a promising talent with a bunch of veterans, and then you kind of like have that person be built up. So maybe they'd try to do something like that, but um, I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible.
I yeah, that's a tough one because initially I was definitely leaning toward Castle because you mentioned the rumors, and I feel like top lane specifically is a really hard role to pick someone up for because it's we've seen a lot of times if you try to go after like the promising solo queue talent, it kind of takes a long time to really understand how to play top lane in a pro environment, right? People will come in and like um a lot of the time the people who get high rated in Challenger will be playing carries mostly, like Camille, Fiora, Jace, whatever. And then they'll like reluctantly play tanks and usually like not do that great. And especially when there's like all these lane swaps going around, that's just stuff that you don't really get practice on in solo queue at all. So I don't know if they necessarily want to go for a rookie player. I just because it's top lane, I think that could actually be really hard, especially because it seems like TL's identity has kind of been playing around their bot lane. And if they're keeping their bot lane, I feel like they'd want to build around that. So I would lean toward, a more experienced player. You mentioned Impact. I feel like Impact or Dokla would probably be like one of the top candidates for me. But like you said, it would be kind of weird to get Impact again after like, hey guy, like calling up your ex after an on again, off again relationship. It's like, is that really good for either of you? So
That'd be like crazy, like Meteos going back to 100 Thieves the second time or something like that, right? Like that would.
That'd be like me going back a third time or something. It's like, fool me twice or whatever. No, I think something like that could be really good. I guess is Surdy an import? I feel like he's someone that could
sure.
be a candidate as well because he's kind of like he's a little bit more experienced than that rookie, and he was a really promising rookie. And I don't think he did bad, right? He was kind of on like lower tier teams, and he showed promise. Probably not the debut he had hoped for, but I think he'd at least be worth talking to for them. I think that could potentially work.
Yeah. No, I think Sardi's actually a good shout, but I don't know if he ever signed like a longer term thing because he obviously was playing for Lion for a bit. And then they crashed out earlier. But like, yeah, he got to actually show that he was a stronger top laner than I think things looked like on Dignitas because Dignitas was just kind of a hot mess. But on Lion, he looked a lot more solid. So no, I think that's a good shout. It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll get some more news in the coming weeks that we can kind of get hyped about. But Worlds, like Kobe said, we just had 6 back-to-back days. We had 4 quarterfinals, immediately into the double semifinals. It felt like the matches were good. I really enjoyed them, but it does feel weird because you're so used to that break being there. It kind of felt like, oh, we have like 6 quarterfinals in a row, because there wasn't that like separation for me. I don't know how it felt for you watching from home Medios, or if it felt more like it. Did you like it or?
So I think traditionally I enjoy the tournaments being more condensed like that, not necessarily these big breaks. I was actually a little surprised though, because like I didn't check the schedule too closely, and I thought there was going to be at least like a day or two break between quarters and semis, but it just went right into it. And I mean, I don't really mind. I think in general, I do prefer the tournaments to be, not as stretched out. Especially, I think as a player, it can be really rough when it's like over such a long time because they obviously don't want to change the patch during Worlds, but then your solo queue experience gets more and more removed from what you're playing on. So, like as a side note, I've been watching this World and getting motivated to learn Kiana jungle, and I know it's going to be a total mess, right? And I finally went for it today, and I was playing a game, and I was like, I'm so weak. How are they doing this at Worlds? I go and look at patch notes, and she's been nerfed like twice since the World patch. And I'm like, it's not my fault. She was nerfed. So that's actually a real thing when you're playing at Worlds. It's like, the longer it goes on, solo queue becomes less and less valuable because you're going to get bad reads on stuff for any champs that's changed that's going to show up in your games. And they do have the tournament realm for scrims and whatnot, but obviously people want to be able to practice on their own as well. So for players, I imagine they would like less breaks. But it does feel a little weird since Worlds has always had that big break between it. And it does allow for more content to be made, like the teasers, the anticipation or whatnot. But I don't really have any complaints. I thought the games have been really, really good.
I like that you bring up the point about practice as the tournament progresses, because that's always a big topic as we get to semifinals and finals, where like all of the other teams that are really high caliber and have exited the tournament are like, okay, time for a break, because we've been grinding all year long and they've made it that far. And so the teams that are still in, then it's hard to find practice partners. And as Midos is saying, you can't like fill it with solo queue exactly, because the patch is usually pretty different because of the amount of time. And so just another one of these advantages of a team like T1 that have had to do that multiple times, as we will get to as we start to talk about these quarterfinals and semifinals. But when they do end up getting this far, I feel like you just are going down a list of all these other advantages that are in addition to the play that you're seeing in these games. And you're like, well, they've done this before and they've done that before and they've been traveling and they, have had to deal with not having practice partners, and how do you fill the time and what do you study and how do you still remain sharp, and all this stuff is, thought that was a really good point. But as far as the actual format, for me personally, I do like the condensed format, but it is also really like mentally draining and like emotionally draining to just keep on going rapid fire. As someone who's working on the event, because you're just like all day every day, all day every day, all day every day, the entire month basically that we've been over here in China. And so yeah, you're like traveling and this story, that emotional story. And then it also helps that we we have had some crazy emotional, finals and stuff that have gone like or not even finals, but they felt like finals happening in quarters and semis. And so I do like it being condensed, because I didn't like, super long waiting, but it is also like, holy, it makes you like, my brain is tired, my emotions are tired afterwards. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I always find the big stadium events, it's like there's so much adrenaline, right? And you're in this huge stadium, it's like sold out every day. So there's, whatever, 20,000 ish people. I don't know how big the stadium is. And so it's like this super loud thing, you're obviously like the players, it's way to way more extreme level. But for us as well, it's like where you're bringing big energy, you're doing all this stuff. And then I always find when a show ends, you kind of have this like huge energy crash, right? Because all the adrenaline drains out of you. And so it is definitely, when you're doing it like six big BO5s in a row, it is kind of intense. But I mean, I like it for sure, because I mean, sometimes it's like you're on the road and these events are going like 6 weeks in the past,
Yeah.
right? Which is just so long. So even with it is as like a month condensed, that's still a long time for a tournament, especially compared to most other games. I know Valorant for their championship, they do a month, but like most other non-Riot games are much faster. And there's pros and cons to that. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it. I think in my ideal world, we would maybe do like quarterfinals, 2 days, semifinals, 2 days, finals, or something like that. So you still have like kind of same duration, but maybe a little bit of a break between quarters and semis, and a little bit of a break between semis and finals instead of a full week between semis and finals. Something like that would probably be like more my ideal world. But obviously, a lot of the realities is that it's based on like when you can schedule the events and stuff, and then if you're having these massive
Weekend viewership.
Exactly. If you're having a massive expensive event, weekend viewership and weekend ticket sales, it's a lot harder to sell a semifinal on like a Wednesday, Thursday, and then have your final on Sunday or something. And then if you're moving cities, there's all those logistics too. So I definitely like it, and I mean it's been super action packed, but yeah, it's definitely like that. I always just find the adrenaline of like your energy just going like this the whole time, right?
Yeah, and then after each of these series, it's you're watching on stage. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of BDD after they won, but that thing just went viral because, um, you know, our amazing stage manager Seb, went up to take him to the interview right after they won, and he's just like BDD is just letting out all of his emotions. It's not even just working a whole year for something. This is like working his whole life for
Decade,
something,
yeah.
and so it's just like it's like it's making everyone else cry also watching these emotions, and we're doing that over and over for so many of these players, Ruler crying, and yeah, all of them, Chovy, all these, like, the impact of these series is so big that it can't help but also have an impact on everyone who's watching and stuff as well. And so, to have all of these, going back to back to back to back, is like, wow, we this is Worlds, and this is why people love this sport, because there are such high highs, and low lows, to counterbalance those. So, yeah, I definitely like it. It has just been super charged.
Well, I mean, speaking of low lows, should we just start with the first semifinal? We could talk about that. I mean, that obviously I think is one of the biggest upsets in world's history. Genji losing to KT, and honestly, I was really happy for KT because it's fun to cheer for the underdog. But the other side of that is, as much as everyone wants to dunk on Chovy and like for never being able to make world finals and all that stuff, I do feel like you're saying really bad for them for the human side of it. It's like this is still someone who is, I think, been consistently, like, at least if you're averaging it out over the last like 5 years, just the best mid laner in the world, right? And it's played at such a ridiculously high level for so long. But I think at this point, it just can't be anything other than like a mental block thing because he still hasn't gotten to a world finals, let alone won one. And every time, there's these stumbling blocks. And I think in previous years, a lot of times people would kind of point to him and be like, Chovy, you're shit, you're choking, whatever. But I felt like in previous years, you could look at him more and be like, yeah, but like his individual level of play was still super, super high. So maybe it's like team issues or whatever. But this year, I felt like there was actually a lot of individual errors especially in the KT series, and even prior to the KT series, I didn't think he was his dominant self. But like in that KT series, even in just like the first ganks of the game, he had like multiple bad flashes. He had the flash where he was trying to avoid the zero and then died. In game one, he tried to flash a J4 combo and flashed in line with it, got hit and died. Obviously, he just got completely cooked by the Azir BDD Azir game, but also like the Talia game. They had like a pivotal fight by Dragon where there's a trap line that had been down for like 20 or 30 seconds, and he just walks onto the trap in full vision, just like walks all the way around the pit and then steps on the trap and then gets hard engaged on and dies. It's like these are just not things that you see from Chovy regionally ever, right? Like he's just so consistent. So to me, it is that mental block, and I mean, maybe he never will win. It's hard to know because it's like it's hard to imagine a better team around him. But definitely wasn't just him. I thought Canyon had a horrible series. He was doing like nothing. I felt like the rest of the team was playing pretty solid, but it's definitely your heart goes out to them because it was like you can't do more than he's done outside of Worlds, right? Like he's basically in the last like couple years, he's lost like 2 or 3 series total in the LCK. Like they just win everything and they win MSI, and then they go to Worlds and they just can't get it done.
I think it's crazy how it's just specifically Worlds. It's not like Chovy is unable to win anything, right? It's like he gets to the finals in LCK and then he chokes or something, or he can't get to finals in LCK, but they win the whole regular season. Like he's winning LCK so often, right? It was like all of them or something. Like I don't even know how many of the past LCKs he's won. I lost count, but it's so many, and their Game 5 records are so crazy. And even when I was watching this series, when they went down 2-1 to KT, I was sitting there being like, all right, I've seen this before. They stomp game 4. Like that's just what Genji does. Like they always, even if they get down 2-1, they'll just stomp game 4 and then win game 5 somehow. So that's what I was expecting because I feel like the only way you could have predicted this result was if you just didn't watch any league this whole year and you were just going off of Genji's previous performances at Worlds. You're just like, yeah, they're the chokers. They're going to choke. But they had me convinced. They had me fooled. I was like, no, you know what? This is actually Genji's year. They look way too solid, too clean, no holes. And at all the interviews, you had people from other teams full on. Like, I don't think you see that very often, right? Where it's like people from their own region are just blatantly praising them like that. They're like, yeah, Peanut saying Chovy has no weakness. I think someone from KT was saying like, yeah, Genji, like no flaws. They're just the perfect team. And you don't really hear that kind of stuff. So I really thought, maybe this is the year where they just win. And it's going to be like a crazy finals between T1 and Genji. And we're really going to see how strong that plot armor is. And no, it just didn't happen. Like, Grant, I think KT played insanely well. I like Dokdom and like their bot lane and BDD, I thought were just so outrageously good that series. I mean, game one, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this looks kind of cooked for KT. They don't have a real front line, and then Genji just has a Sion stand in front of you, and you have to somehow get onto their carries, and like this looks pretty unplayable. But they somehow managed to win that game, and after that, I was like, wait, what? Like, are they actually legit? Like, is this going to happen? And I mean, some of those plays in the game, like that BDD engaged top lane in game one was so wild. I went back and watched it like 5 times. Just obviously, everyone has seen a Yone Q3 flash ult you, right? It's not like an unheard of play, but the way he did it was like, the timing was so unexpected. It was like he walked up to W the wave, as in like, I'm trying to not get poked, and then back up. And then he just immediately like Q flashed in, ulted. Like, I don't blame Genji for getting caught by that. That was wild timing. So I thought just the whole series, they were just making crazy plays. The other one, like when Dokdom got Vi ulted and he flashed into his tier 3 mid and put down a trap where Vi was going to land, I was just like so blown away by that. That was just unreal. I don't know. That was, I think Canyon definitely didn't have a good series. And it kind of shows me why he's been receiving so much criticism, because like I haven't watched every Genji game, obviously, but I thought it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, people just like want to knock him down in some way and he's the scapegoat or whatever. But he definitely like underperformed pretty hard against KT. I thought that game one, it was really weird for him to even try to go on Kate that game, I thought, because when you look at the comps, you don't need to kill Caitlyn. Caitlyn's only hitting Sion. All you have to do is peel Yone and Rumble, just ult one of them. But he kept trying to go for Caitlyn, and then that was giving them the opportunity to like have the big Nico Yone counter engages on his own backline. So yeah, I mean, I think it was just a combination of KT just playing out of their mind and Genji underperforming.
Yeah, I wanted to get in when you were talking about the BDD Yone engage at top lane, because that was another moment where, if we're looking back at it and everyone's calm and reviewing the VOD, and you're looking at Chovy's reaction to it, usually I feel like out of that BDD combo, Chovy's like spamming flash and he'll be okay. But he hits Zhonya's out of the Yone combo, which lets Stockdom put a trap under it, and then there's no counterplay. Because, I guess you also have a lot of just like muscle memory. Usually, as for a lot of these fights, you'll Zhonya's first, and then you'll use your flash afterwards, because generally in team fights, that'll get more value because they'll have to wait around, or they'll group up, or someone will try and make a play on you afterwards, and then you like surprise them with your flash afterwards. But if you're going into a team fight versus a Caitlyn, it just like greatly reduces the value of Zhonya's and Guardian Angels because of trap combos out of it. So I feel like if it was one of those moments where it's like, yeah, he's thinking perfectly clearly and he's taking risk assessment and looking at all these things, then maybe he could have flashed instead of Zhonya's or something like that. But it's like all these like little tiny things that you're also gonna nitpick in these situations. And like you guys were saying, Chovy has been able to win so many other things, not to mention back-to-back MSI champions. It's not like it's just LCK, domestic titles, and it's like, oh, he freaks out when he goes international. No, he was magnificent in this most recent MSI. He was popping off, and that's a tournament that has a format that's feels like it's more difficult with double elimination, and just feels like, the very complete bracket and everything kind of goes by the numbers and stuff. And yeah, like he had he had an amazing performance. Ruler had an amazing performance in MSI Championship as well. Ruler and Canyon, both of them are already world champions, so I think they get less of the people that want to attack and be like, "Ha ha ha, you choked or you didn't be able to do this thing." But like Ruler, especially the Lucian game, he got hit with like many Cassiopeia ultimates. A lot of them were really good from BDD because he was doing this thing where he would flash miasma and he wouldn't like ult flash every time.
Mm.
But I feel like a lot of people are conditioned like, oh, Cassiopeia flashed, she doesn't have her ult anymore or something like that. But he would like save it, and then he would get all these crazy good Cassiopeia ults, and then like he would hit Ruler with a bunch of them. One of them, Ruler was like culling at him when he still had ult, which was yeah. So like, holy, this series was so crazy, super high emotions, both in excitement for not even trying to do that on purpose for KT, but just like genuinely feeling really good for these players, for this actual roster to do it. And then also the feelings of sadness, because as it was happening, I just knew Chovy is just going to get so much flack. Like, it is crazy how much people are going to, jump back on him because it's like another time not being able to do it on the world stage is it's that narrative is just always going to follow, no matter what now. And so I was like, oh man, in the moment I just already felt really, like compassionate for them, I guess. But the series itself was really great and really did deliver. And BDD had a lot of amazing moments, but so did a lot of the other players on KT that are not players that are hyped up. You mentioned Doctum. Doctum and Peter were both benched at different points in this year. And these are not superstar players. We did like the intro at the beginning of the series, and I was like, this is the one of the best teams that has ever been assembled around Chovy. He's got superstars in every single role around him. That's not true for KT at all. That's like it's like, man, it's just actually just crazy. This 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 one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's so
Go ahead.
interesting because it's like obviously it's not just oh Genji played bad chokers, because it's so much about this other team rising to the occasion too, and like you were touching on Meteos, it's crazy because Chovy, it's not like he just chokes anytime it's a final or anything. Like he's doing so well. And I think again, like in the other worlds, I didn't really see it as like a choke or anything like that. It just kind of maybe wasn't working out for different reasons. Like I feel like for NA, people used to always say that about Bjergsen when he went international, even though I think individually a lot of times he actually played really well, and it's just for whatever reason, it's a team game, right? But like I think it is so mental because I just think he has probably built up worlds to this thing. It's like that is what he is playing for at this point, right? He's won everything else. And so I think worlds is like the one thing that he is missing. And when you spend your entire year looking only towards this one thing, I think it's so hard to then be able to play in the same normal way that you usually would. And I mean, they've had the unfortunate happenstance of running into some teams that are peaking at the right time. Like KT, I predicted them, but I predicted them mostly just like for fun, right? Because I just thought it would be funny if they won the upset, and like, haha, I'm the only person that predicted them or whatever. But I did unironically think they had more of a chance than people were giving them, simply because I felt like Perfect and Peter were really big weaknesses for this team in the LCK. And I felt like even prior to the Gen G series that they had been performing a lot better. And like these guys were stepping up. I mean, it was the first time Peter had ever gone on a plane was coming to Worlds. So it's like not only had he never played at an international, he had never flown anywhere before, right? Like it's crazy. And you have this guy who's playing with no fear. And it wasn't as though he had some perfect first game and then just got to like snowball the confidence. He actually inted a couple of the fights early on in game one on that Nico. He had some horrible engages where he's way ahead of the team and just died. Same thing happened on the Alistar where sometimes he was way ahead of the team and just lost his ult and then tried to like make an engage happen and died. Or lost his ult so they couldn't contest. And the thing that really impressed me is you would think that a player in their first time who's like not a top player and all these things, when something goes wrong, that you would just be like crumbling, right? but he just like kept looking for angles. And even in those games where he had made multiple mistakes, he then was able to force his way in and find big plays. And then it felt like he really did gain confidence from that. I was actually blown away by how he played the Renata. I felt like he played that game so well and so aggressive, where, you know, Duro and Ruler were doing a good job kind of like neutralizing their pressure. So they couldn't actually like take the tower. They couldn't like kill them under tower or anything like that. But then they were using their tempo so well. He's like trading flashes with Canyon. He's going mid and trading flashes. I remember this fight up by, I think it was either Herald or Grubs. I can't remember, but where they're entering from the top side. And like Chovy has his Anivia wall down and like the ult on one side. And it's looking like, okay, they're zoned out. They can't even enter. And he just is like pushing through, like putting pressure on Chovy and like trading out his flash, knowing that they have the Callista ult and stuff, like forcing his way in like in a way that I think most players would have just not even tried. And so I was super impressed by how he played that game, super impressed by how he played the whole series. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just was honestly pretty blown away by how a lot of their players played. And to me, Keen is like the clear best top laner in the world. I think a lot of the other top laners that had been in that picture in my mind didn't have as strong of a year. Like Bin obviously has been having a lot more struggles, especially in the LPL pre-playoffs. Did not look like himself at all. Zayas, I think, is obviously great, but to me, still wasn't playing on the level he was playing on last year. So I'm like, Keen is just like best top player in the world. I felt like wasn't even a question. And you have Perfect, who a lot of people even were talking to me prior to the semis and saying like, this is the worst player all time in Worlds to even make a semis. Like people were like evaluating him at that level, and you're going up against the best top player in the world. And yeah, he was getting outperformed a bit in game 1, game 2, but like still did his job, never died in side lanes, like held Keen to a pretty even level. And then I actually thought he outperformed him in the last 2 games. Like the Cassante game, he got counterpicked by Keen with the Aatrox and still was like even on CS doing more in team fights. The Ornn, same thing, going up against Yorick. Like, I thought he played so well. Like, that is crazy to be getting counterpicked by the best top laner in the world. And when you're this guy that people are looking at as like a total nobody in the LCK and being able to play to that level. So I just thought it was so impressive, you know, and they deserve a lot of credit for the step up. It shouldn't just be, the story should definitely not just be, oh wow, Gen G choked. It should be like, yeah, okay, Gen G did not play as well, but holy shit, KT are playing better than I've ever seen a lot of these players play.
Yeah, I mean, they just really, the way they played as well in the game was it was really nice to see because they were just so committal with everything they were doing. Like I think BDD especially, he played kind of like unleashed or however you want to call it. Like he just had no reservations, didn't hesitate ever. Like you said in his Casio, he was just flashing in permanently into like even questionable spots. And he was just totally okay with dying or going for plays that, you know, had a huge chance of failure, but you know, just being able to take those risks and pull it off is super awesome to see because I mean, there's so much pressure, right? It's very easy to want to just play it safe, you know, do minimize risk, try to win the long game, whatnot. But no, he was just giving it everything, and I think that shows why he like was so emotional afterwards because he just totally put himself out there, and yeah, it's awesome to see it work out for him.
Yeah, kind of bringing our stories together as well. The interview that he did end up giving, I thought his answers were really good. The One of the last things that he said when he was asked, "What would you tell BDD a week from now?" And he said, "I would tell myself, just do what you normally do." And that's kind of one of the themes that we're talking about that is very difficult to do when you get to this level and all of this pressure. You know, and maybe something that that Chovy was unable to do. But BDD seems like his head is in a very good place. He got really emotional when he was asked the question about Cuz and playing with him again. Um, Man, it's just like holy moly, their story is so good. But also, as you were saying, as far as Peter's previous series to this, the CFO series, I thought he actually played every single game. Like he didn't even have a bad game. He actually like ascended. It just looked like he was you know, a superstar in his own right. He was constantly going mid lane, getting extra resources. off of Hong Q, helping BDD out, like the Nautilus game, roaming mid first. There's a particular dragon fight that he played so incredibly well with his Alistar, where he dealt with all of the CFO threats, and it was one of the early dragon fights. Maybe I'll go back and find the timestamp or something for a piece of content, but like it was one of the early dragon fights in his Alistar game, and he dealt with all of the engage. He let himself like get pulled in, got the double knock up, then flashed the headbutt disengage the other side of the fight where the Galio was coming from. I just like, man, he was smurfing so hard that he almost got the player of the series over BDD, um, who is also smurfing super hard, and like that was. I don't think people would even be mad if he had gotten it. That's like how incredible it was. So like watching watching KT Rolster ascend like this is been like magical at this Worlds, and it already has so many people thinking about the DRX miracle run, and it just feels like LoL esports in the last few years is just in this like movie making business where we constantly have all these crazy stories that are real life and happening in real time at Worlds. But yeah, we can go on to the
Well,
next.
one
Go
one
ahead.
thing one thing that we didn't even touch on that I think was crazy was that in game 4, KT won with Callista Renata, which has been like the auto lose lane all year. It was like the what was it, MSI around then, where everyone was picking it and everyone was losing with it, and it just kind of disappeared. And then when I saw them pick that in game 4, I was like, is that really what you want? Like, are you sure that's the champs you want? Especially in Illusion Braum. And then they made it work, right? And then even the game 3, they played Lulu, like or just full on range support. Like that is one of those things where I don't think Genji's drafts were perfect or anything, but I don't think you can point to it and be like, yeah, they were just gapped. There's nothing they could do with that because yeah, I mean, winning with some of that stuff is really hard. It's very easy to make a mistake and have the game slip away from you. So yeah, I mean, just so much credit to them for that.
You reminded me of another like one of these like movie magic lines of another thing that was true from this series. There were multiple first time for their career champions that they picked. That was Cuz's first time on stage, of course. They've obviously practiced these champions. But it was his first Mundo, it was his first Kiana that he had played on stage. And then as far as you're talking about like the Gen G drafts and stuff, while it was Chovi's first Anivia, Vagar V2,
That
who's
one was a little obvious.
uh, yeah, as
I'm
far
just
as the
kidding,
play,
kind of.
but on Twitter, so Vagar V2 obviously because he
Yeah.
works with Cloud9, and he plays a lot of these types of champions mid, like Vagar and like Karthus and Anivia and stuff, and he's really big on it. While he was critical of the build that Chovy went. He made a point tweeting out that this is a really good Anivia spot. And it does make sense, like evaluating how the enemy team doesn't have a lot of things that can stop your ultimate. They're pretty short range. The matchup is good, going down the checklist. And so the series comes down to the play in the actual game. While they definitely do deserve credit for their drafting for KT, yeah, it all comes down to play inside the game and resilience under pressure.
I mean, especially the Anivia game, like you're talking about. Like I thought actually that they had just had a better draft. I mean, you have Ornn and Renata alts who are stopped by Braum, which is going to make it really difficult. Anivia, I feel like, is like a Thanos pick into this team that is all these short range champions, and you have Ruler on Lucian. I will say I was super surprised he didn't play Cleanse this game though, because usually people auto take Cleanse against Renata. And like the fact that he didn't play Cleanse, maybe he was just thinking Brahm's gonna like block all of the things that I would need to cleanse. But like he did end up getting caught a bunch of times by Cassio ult and not having Cleanse, not having QSS, and kind of just getting 100 zeroed off that. I don't know that it really would have made the difference, but like they had that. They had pushing side lanes with Keen on this Yorick, but like I thought it was for sure the play because instead of even playing towards sides and just kind of like being able to wave clear and allow York to build advantages, they were constantly grouping and team fighting with York, which is to me the real weak part of the champion.
Well,
So
he was also doing the Sin, which I know you're a Yorick player, but in team fights, he would be standing there with his maiden, and then he threw his E at them.
Yep.
It's like,
And then
bro, that
it
thing's
just
not a
dies.
poke ability while your maiden's out. Like, that is a
Yep.
suicide maiden ability. And so that was definitely one of the rare times where when I saw it, I was like, wow, like, I don't usually see Keen just, make really, like, easy mistakes like that. But, I mean, he's only human and a very high-pressure situation.
Yep, absolutely. But absolutely insane series. Super fun to watch. One of the craziest upsets we ever had. We are going to go to a quick break, though, and then we're going to be able to talk about the matchup that just happened today, T1 versus TES.
Ready, set, go!
I'm at 47%.
Oh, I'm on 63%.
Man, I'm at 50%. Boom! 80%. Winner! The Kia EV9 can go from 10% charge to 80% charge in just 24 minutes with DC fast charging.
Welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia. It is now time to talk about the second semifinals, the one that just happened today. T1 versus TES. What is it? 12 best of fives in a row against the LPL at Worlds now that they've won, or is it 13?
Well, now you're making me second guess it.
I want to say I saw 13 in a tweet.
Because I think it was just 12 after beating AL. So it has to be 13 now. It's kind of hard because they were 12 and then you blink and
it's 13.
This series is over and it's 13 because this series was so insanely fast. It was like, I like, got a sandwich and stuff and got back to the room, and then I was like setting up my computer and like playing some games. And then I hear like, T1 win again. And T1 is already sounds like they're winning the second game. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like the series is going to be over. And Medios was typing in our chat. He's like, guys, it's like, what was the total time, Medios, of the series?
Well, it was, it started at midnight and it ended at 1:30. There might have been some daylight savings somewhere in there, but midnight to 1:30.
It was fifth fastest all time. So not the fastest all time.
And that was
Worlds.
with pauses too in a completely stalemated game one. That first game was so slow. I was like, oh man, like we just saw Genji have a banger against KT and now this, but thankfully it heated up pretty quick after that one.
Yeah, I mean, game one was crazy because the game was essentially over and no one had Feet of Warfare yet. Because after the Otacon fight, T1 are up 2-1 in kills at 25 minutes, and they kill them, Otacon, Baron, and they're already on Soul Point. And it's like, well, GG, I guess. And there's 3 total kills. Feats aren't even claimed yet, and the game is over. So like that first game was so slow. I mean, I think TES came in with a clear plan. It just didn't work at all, and they never adapted. Like, they left up Ori, so they're obviously trying to set up for this counter pick with the Akali, and then they just put all their resources into attacking Faker in the side lane. Faker never even flashed in the entire game. They never even got his flash in the whole game.
That Wukong, how about that Wukong play? That was the craziest one where Kareem had just kept trading ulties with Faker in the side lane to chunk him, and there was never really close to a kill, but he was at least like chunking him out. And then he had one where Faker was, maybe a little less than half, and then Kanavi just pulls up and ults him under turret while the redemption's already coming down. I mean, I guess he probably didn't see the redemption yet because I know it shows on Spectator a little before they see it, but that was really goofy looking because there's no way you're ever killing him there. He still had flash. So, it didn't go too well for them, but I have to say, from game one, even before the game started, I thought that draft for TES made literally no sense with their last 2 picks. So they had, I think giving Ori, if you're going to pick like Akali, Wukong, because it's basically an Orianna Wukong trade. Those champs have both been insanely high prio for drafting, like almost permanent. So they do that trade, which is fine. But then going into the 4-5 for top, Rumble was open, and T1 had Orianna Varus, and you have like Wukong Akali, right? So I'm thinking, okay, you just take Rumble, and then you take some like huge CC support. And that should actually be really good, right? You have just a full-on dive comp against 2 immobile carries. Like, looks good to me. And then what did they go? They went Karma support, who rushed Shirelia's when you already have a Sivir on the team, which to me just made absolutely no sense. It was like, you need more crowd control for your team. You're playing like Akali, you need to lock these guys down. Oh, it was Cassante, right? So they just went Cassante Karma, which to me, I don't know. Maybe they were just tunneled on lanes or something. Like they were worried about some bad matchups, but their overall team comp, I just thought couldn't do anything, which is why I think it was such a slow game. If they had someone like Nautilus or I don't know all the other ones that were open, but just, anything that wasn't Karma. And he didn't even rush the redemption too. So they were just kind of like getting stat checked in the fights. Really, really weird stuff from that draft. I didn't really like that one.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I felt like I actually like this strategy because we've seen a lot of teams do this strategy, and a lot of teams that I like that are exciting that like go for backline kills where you give the Orianna, even though it's the pick of the tournament, and then you pick Wukong Akali into it, but you also have other things that are going to help die. And your whole idea is, yes, we're going to give you really powerful immobile carries. We're going to take down side lane turrets, and we're going to not allow you to side lane. We're going to constantly press you in side lanes. We're going to constantly look for dives. But as you're saying, then they don't fill it out with other champions that are going to like play to that strategy. And so then you like kind of have it, but if you don't have enough damage, like there were so many times, yeah, Faker went the Rod of Ages build, so he was like tankier, but there's so many times where like, yeah, you just don't have enough damage. And then wow, Guma and Faker are pretty good at Varus and Orianna. Those champions, pretty well known for them. I mean, Faker's known for a lot, but yeah, Guma Varus, of course, legendary. I will say it's super funny to me that I felt like I could condense this whole game down to one single choice by one single player, and it was Doran to me. And I was like, well, this Mordekaiser pick basically ended up winning the game because at the Otacon fight, they're staring them down. And TES, they pull the Otacon. Actually, standard process. Wukong's the only one taking it. It's actually good. Nobody else is getting shredded. But the Wukong is getting shredded resistances. And Doran's like, I just got to go for the jungler. And he just runs straight at Wukong, ults the Wukong, and then hits every ability on him, flashes after him, kills him. And then it's like, wow, we just won the Otacon fight at a timer where Baron is also up. So they also get Baron off of that. And to me, it was just like one of the most impactful and not like a super crazy play or anything, but just like one choice that's like, all right, I'm gonna walk out that Wukong, and he does hit his claw, he hits everything, and he knows that the Wukong's already getting shredded too, so like he's probably gonna be able to finish him since he has flash and yeah, so he walks up, kills the Wukong, they get Otacon, they get Baron, and the game is literally over.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the craziest part about it too was like obviously he's doing the right thing. He's going for the Wukong, but top engaged on him. Like they see him coming and they full sent it on this Mord who has 2 items. He had Hexplate, Riftmaker, and he had Tabbies. Like, in what world are you one-shotting him with your Sivir Karma? Like, you don't even have CC to 100 to 0 CC or anything. So he just gets knocked out by Wukong, instantly ults the Wukong, and they had like full sent every ability on him. Then he just kills your jungler and you lose the game. And like, I agree, this draft wasn't that great. But the funniest thing is, you talked a lot about this draft. I think their second draft was worse. I think the Nami Corki draft.
Oh yeah.
When we saw like it's like Camille, Galio, Jarvan, and we're drafting a Nami with our Corki. Like, what was Jackie Lowe supposed to do? In what world are you ever gonna live? I when I saw that them going through draft, I was like, wow, T1 forgot to ban Renata. This is like the best Renata game of all time. Like, if you just go Corki Renata and they full send it on your Corki, you hostile takeover with all these melees that are instantly stacked up, and you bail out. And I feel like it's so hard then because T1's whole comp is all about sending it on one person, locking them in the Galio wall, and one-shotting them, right? With Camille, Galio, Jarvan, everything. And they even have the Kaisa. So I thought it was insane when they went Nami from that spot, because Nami to me has always been absolute garbage versus dive. Like, you're such a squishy champion. Sure, you have the tidal wave, but it's not really going to do that much. So it felt like they were fully betting the entire game on just being able to blast this lane. But it's not like you were playing against Kaisa Alistar or something. You were playing against Kaisa Nico. So like, Nico is not an easy champion to just slam the lanes on, right? So I thought that draft was even crazier. And yeah, Jackie Love did make some positioning mistakes, did kind of get aggressive at times, but there was also a lot of times where he's like 2 screens away from anyone on T1 and just gets like hookshot, flash, Camille ult, Galio ult, Jarvan ult, Kaisa ult, dead. And it's like, well, there's nothing you can do about that. play safe, bro.
Yeah.
So
Dude, that game was crazy because, I mean, I've definitely noticed Jackie Love having a tendency to die a lot in games. Like that's kind of his thing. But I don't blame him too much for this game. Like every fight was almost comical to a degree of how hard he was getting jumped on. It was just every single person would just show up and kill him. And I think he died 3 fights in a row where he didn't flash, but also he couldn't flash anything. He was just Camille ulted into the full combo. So yeah, I mean that was a pretty disgusting situation for him. And I agree with Nami. She hasn't really looked good this whole tournament. Like CFO was playing her a bit, and she showed up a couple times, but I don't know. I mean, I know she's really good in solo queue. She's one of the highest win rate solo queue supports, but I'm not super convinced in pro play. Or I do wonder, maybe people should be playing like a tankier version of her. Like I know people or like the mandate and the bubbles and whatnot, summon Airy, but I feel like a support that just can't really get into the fight, because you're so fragile. Maybe something like Guardian, Rushing Redemption, Celestial Opposition would make you a little bit more like a character yourself rather than being kind of like a Yumi. But I don't know. Maybe that's just worse. But either way, I feel like the champion has had like such little impact every game she's getting picked. I think the dream of just being able to sit there, press E on your carry, and have them one shot everyone with Mandate is a little unrealistic.
Yeah, I think the best game I saw of Nami was when CFO first did it with the Ezreal with Doggo. And then Doggo's like chasing everyone down too. Like they do smash. It was the dream scenario, right? They win lane, and then he gets his Trinity Force really early, and then they're running around the map, and she's putting the E on him, and then he's like arcade shifting forward, chasing people down. They can't get away. He's like on a crazy power spike, and yeah, maybe that like baited everyone into trying to use it, because it is a pretty one-dimensional strategy where if that fails, then you're super vulnerable. Yeah, when you're like, yeah, it's kind of like a Yumi. It's like a Yumi that's even less safe because you're not untargetable on your AD, and then you're like super squishy also. So, yeah, that one might have been like that game bait, or like scrim baits where like some teams just constantly smashing lane or and something with it. But yeah, I think they had some more problems in addition to just that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
it was good gameplay too.
We saw. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say we saw a glimpse of the Nami Corki combo, which actually it's funny enough. Like it was so fast that the observer missed it the first time, but that kill on Guma in mid lane, I think that's probably what the teams are seeing when they pick it, where he's just minding his own business, trying to last hit a ranged minion under tier 1 turret and just dies from like half HP or something. To like it didn't even feel like they went on him too aggressively. They just kind of like threw their buttons and he died. So I think that's probably what people are seeing, and maybe it happens more in scrims. But yeah, I mean on stage definitely has not been working out.
Yeah, there was one game from CFO where they super smurfed with it too, and then CFO played they played the Nami Corki, they smurfed with it, then they played Nami Corki again, it didn't work, and then we saw it again here. So it's interesting because Nami had always just been like the Lucian, and then like it kind of fell out of favor, and people are now doing Lucian plus melee supports like Braum again, or just standard engage supports and stuff. But yeah, it must be something that's being done in scrims. I don't know if CFO was the first to bring it out. At least they were the first to bring it out on stage. But yeah, it hasn't looked great. I don't hate it in all circumstances, but in this draft, I just felt like it made no sense. And it's like you're giving T1 all the agency. They have 50 forms of engage, and your engage is a Nami alt and like Ambessa trying to solo alt in, right? And you're playing against Jarvan, Camille, Galio, all of this stuff, and Nico. It just felt like you're allowing T1 to choose when and where you fight for the entire game, and that is just not a winning proposition against the greatest team ever.
Imagine a Tom Kench here instead of a Nami, right? Like you press Camille, Jarvan, Galio alt on a Corki, and then he's inside of Frog's mouth, and he's nice and safe. So I don't know if that champion's viable at all, but I feel like he needed something. Like there was just absolutely nothing Jackie Love could do to survive this game. I felt pretty bad for him. He's just literally getting like flying a windshield.
I will say too, from the T1 perspective and how well they played it, I feel like this is Doran's best series of the whole tournament, because his Mordekaiser like I said, like that one play basically wins them the whole game. The Camille, you mentioned hookshot flashes. He nailed Jackie Love multiple times. The Camille obviously is a pivotal part of bringing all of this together. And then his Scion game, he did this. He did this flash ult onto the Kiana at the third dragon fight that was up against the wall, and he basically Kiana's the Kiana. Kiana didn't get to do anything. Kanavi was like one shot against the wall because Doran went for the flash into ultimate, and then Keria, like, he perfectly got the Renata ult to tag the Kiana, and I forget whoever was up on the other side, but it was like max length on the Renata ultimate. It tags them both. So it's like Scion flash ult into Renata charm into Q, and the Kiana doesn't get to move. To me, that was so satisfying to watch. It happened to an actual Kiana and like a really good Kiana player as well. And then it's like, okay, you for sure win that team fight then. So I thought that was like that's something that's promising for T1 moving forward because Doran had been a bit worrisome for me at this tournament, but this series I think was definitely his best series of the tournament, and he's definitely looking better. Keria obviously for sure woke up at Worlds and looked way better.
He didn't even have to take off his jacket today.
Yeah, he even kept on the whole time today.
He had his jacket on the whole time. Dude, that was crazy aura farm though against AL, where like something just went horrible for them in like the game 5, and you just see him like laughing to himself and taking off his jacket, right? That kind of mentality is so insane. Like, can you imagine doing that? You're in the world, or it's not the world finals, but the final game of an elimination series, and it's not looking great for you. Something just went horrible, and you're just laughing at yourself. Like, that level of just enjoying the game and that mentality of T1 has to be a huge reason why they're so good, right? It's just, I can't even imagine doing that. I would be just absolutely stressed out of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's the experience. Like Kobe was talking about that before, right? They've had so much experience in these situations, and I think being able to not only stay calm but to like laugh and like relax a little bit in these moments and not get super stressed, I think is just so huge. I don't know if you guys saw APA gave an interview recently, and he was just saying how the environment at TL was really rough, and basically like even when they were winning, it was still really rough, but like it kind of got papered over because they were winning, and that kind of like fixes all your issues. As long as you keep winning, it's okay. But that basically then you get to Worlds and you have kind of like a mental boom situation where there's so much pressure, and then you have all these issues that have been building up, all these frustrations and everything, and the relationships are maybe already a little bit frayed, and then it's just like mental boom, bad performance. And he was saying that's often what happens to good teams at Worlds. He was saying it was the same thing basically with FlyQuest, in his opinion, that he had already felt like from scrimming against them that they were already kind of losing trust in each other. And then you come to this event, there's immense pressure. Whether it's the World Finals or Game 1 of Swiss, this is what you're working towards the entire year. And so there's huge amounts of pressure that just compound any issues you have. And it's the same thing. He also mentioned BLG. It's like it's the same kind of stuff, right? Where you have these teams that are looking so much better than what they perform at Worlds, but it's just that stress, that mental pressure. And if your team isn't vibing and isn't getting along, it's a problem. And I think there's a big reason why when you see these unlikely kind of heroes or whatever that rise up at Worlds, a lot of them have like vibes teams, vibes players, like Peter's doing his little dances and looking like he's having a great time and just laughing about stuff. And like, is the same thing I felt like with DRX. Like DRX looked like they had super good vibes throughout. And I just feel like that is, it's not a coincidence, right? Like being able to stay in a positive mindset allows you to play so much better.
I really liked Faker's interview after the AL series too, where he was nonchalantly, he was like, yeah, when they asked him about, I think they were asking him about the Otacon play where he clutched it by Aatrox was running straight at his face. He channels Mel ult, and the Aatrox dies like right here, right in front of his face. And that Mel ult did like 1,000 damage or something. It was actually crazy. I thought that was the crazier part than even stealing the Otacon, but then he also gets to steal the Otacon.
Dude, that was such a Faker moment. Oh my God. When I saw that, I was just like screaming because, what else is going to happen there, right? It's just like a no jungler Otacon smite fight, if you will, whatever you want to call it, and who gets it? Faker, the guy who's tickling it with Mel. It's just like, all right, man, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah,
So crazy.
he got the execute. I thought Guma had the heads up play because Guma was the one that auto attacked it while it was spinning outside of patience to get it to re-target him, and Guma was inside the patience. So that's what made it not leash there. And then AL were like, oh crap. I mean, I guess we're trying to go versus a Mel with execute versus Otacon or
I mean,
whatever.
I think her execute's only champions, isn't it? I don't think it works on Otacon.
No, it does. Because it works on
does it?
jungle camps, yeah. It's just on enemies.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's not as crazy as how that was then. I thought it was just like a tickle that got it, but okay, that makes more sense.
That's never happened to you? It's happened to me before.
No. I never see that champion, dude. Even in pro play, it's like I was really surprised when Faker pulled it out. I was also surprised he was doing Qmax because I know like statistically Emax Mel is generally what people have been leaning toward just because her damage is never really that high, but getting that like super low cooldown, long duration root that you just spam with like the heavy CDR build is really strong. But I guess Faker, wasn't having it. He was just doing his thing. But it was pretty cool. The other pick that I think has been really cool is Ashe because she was one that I kind of had my eye on. She got buffed a couple patches back. Like her AD growth was increased. And she's a really good Kraken user. And Kraken's crazy right now. So it's nice to see her getting picked up. And she's been having really good results. And the thing that has stuck out to me the most is that, she hasn't been super popular recently, but people have been getting hit with a lot of arrows, right? Like in the Genji series, Chovy got nailed with like 2 arrows in a row. Like everyone's been getting hit with Ashe arrows. And to me, it's one of those things that it's just because people aren't playing against Ashe that often, right? In the same way you mentioned how Chovy like reflexively zoned against a Caitlyn when he should have flashed out because of the traps. A lot of that pro play, it's not necessarily reaction time, but it's more like it's the like muscle memory, right? It's like when you play against Ashe often, it's really subtle things. Like you'll just hear it and know where you are and know you're possibly going to be getting arrowed, and so you'll be able to flash it or whatnot. But when you haven't seen her super recently, it'll catch you off guard more often. And that's one thing that's also, with the pressure of Worlds, because I know these players would be like, people have been flashing all Ashe arrows since the beginning of time. And we've just been seeing so many of them just like nail mid laners and whatnot. And I think it's just because people aren't used to playing against her.
Yeah. Real quick, just to finish my story on the AL interview on Faker after about the Otacon fight, his answer was, "Yeah, we needed a bit of luck." And like he can just do that because he's won Worlds 5 times before, and he's like, "Yeah, in this moment, I went for it. I knew we needed a bit of luck." And then they got a bit of luck, and it works out. It's like kind of the carrier attitude stuff that you guys are talking about. This whole team, they've already won together twice. So how, like, you can't break that trust. When you're talking about APA's interview and like trusting your teammates and stuff, like you can't get better than already having won back to back. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's like in your mind everything's just going to work out because it always works out, right? Because they always go to World Finals and they always win and they always are able to pull it off in the clutch. So I just feel like it wouldn't even click in your brain that it wouldn't. You know what I mean? It's kind of insane. And one of the things that's really impressed me about T1 is I just feel like, obviously, you can't say enough about Faker. Like the stats are so ridiculous, right? Like it seems fake. He has now made Worlds 10 times. He's never missed semifinals. He's made the World Finals 8 out of 10 times that he went to Worlds, and he has won, 5 out of 7, and he's going for his 6th out of 8. Like that is ridiculous. His win rate at Worlds, last I had looked at it, was like 70-something%. When someone has a 70-something% win rate in solo queue, it's like this person is an insano smurf, right? Like this person is like 2K LP, starting in low elo, whatever. It's like this kind of ridiculous stuff, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean. And it's like he's basically smurfing in Worlds low. Like he's just having, like a 70-something% win rate against the best players in the world, like the best players of all time, always going to finals, always winning. And this World feels like compared to the last couple, there's always so much talk about, oh, Faker, it's more about like he's had to reinvent himself as more of a shot caller or playing, champions that are less mechanical. Like there was a lot of talk about this in the LCK. It's like, okay, his laning phase isn't as good anymore, so he's got to play like Annie and stuff like this, and he's going to be the engage and whatever. And then this Worlds, not only has he played more different champions than anyone else, he's also played all these really mechanically difficult champions and smurfed on them. Like he brought out LeBlanc and owned on it. He brought out Kali and owned on it. He's just playing everything and all these champs that are really specialist champs and dominating. Like I don't know if you watched the pre-show, but I was doing this segment and I wanted to kind of like go through all these clutch moments that he had. And I realized that he had way too many clutch moments where he solo won the game this event. We couldn't fit them. I had to cut like 3/4 of the things that I had pulled. And it's like the Otacon steal on Mel, the kill on Aatrox into the Otacon steal, the 100 Thieves one where 100 Thieves are winning that fight by Baron and it looks cooked. 3-man seismic shove, Zonius at 1 HP, lives. The LeBlanc game, I think it was against IG, where he's just like solo finding all these picks and taking over the game. The Talia game against IG, where he unassisted gets back-to-back seismic shoves on Gala, forcing out his flash and then catching him again instantly and ending the game. Both games against MKoy, just the whole game, just watch the whole game. He just smurf from start to finish. TP's in on Azir and 1v2s Jojo and Elyoya to like really seal the deal. It's like just this Worlds in the like 12th year or whatever of Faker's career, he has more highlights than most of the other best players of all time have from their entire career at Worlds. It's just like, what the hell?
It doesn't make any sense. And the thing that always hurts my brain a little bit is the fact that when you see Faker's level of dominance at Worlds, right? I mean, obviously it's crazy, but you would expect that this is just the best team ever, right? Like they should just be winning everything. But how do they just not win everything in the LCK? Like they managed to get into Worlds 4th seed, look like underdogs for everything except Worlds. Like how did they do that? That part makes no sense to me. They just somehow aren't that dominant until it really matters, and then they just flip a switch and they just win Worlds. Like I don't know. I don't get it.
One thing that they've given a lot of credit to is that they have talked in interviews about how they are really good at adapting at Worlds. And they credit a lot of their World success to that, to being able to understand the meta, understand what they have to change, fix all their problems, really, really rapid fire, because that is obviously such a crucible for teams at Worlds.
And I feel like that a lot of that does come from having the trust and good relationship with your teammates, because that allows you to take constructive feedback and give constructive feedback and waste no time in adapting and in fixing issues. Whether it is
still. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, wouldn't that still be true for LCK though, right? Like, I just think there's so many good teams in the world, and it's not like they win everything. So it's just so interesting that it's specifically Worlds where they are just so dominant.
Yeah, true. I mean, MSI is usually an issue for them, and they don't quite get over the line. I mean, the last one they were in the finals, but yeah, they I think they do it to create the movie magic. They're like, you know what? Let's go in as
they
fourth
actually
seed
do.
again. Let's go in as 4th seed again. You know what? We're versus MKoy. Everybody else play bad. Just let Faker do everything. Just let Faker carry us for this one. It'll make people second guess us, It'll make it fun again. And it's like, oh, like all these things. And then they change their minds. They're like, you know what? We're not gonna play bad anymore. Carrier's like, haha, take off my jacket. I'm playing good again. It's like what the?
So you're saying it's because of the magic.
It is because of the magic.
It is, man. It is 100%. There is some kind of magic. It's one of those things that, if you wanted to make some sports miracle underdog movie about Faker, it's like, all right, man, like take your pick. Like we got any Worlds. Like look at any of them. I don't know. It's so sick.
Yeah,
I love it.
The thing that's cool with Faker, I was having this conversation with a few of the other casters, and it's just like there are so few comparisons you can make to Faker now and his level of dominance. Not even just in esports, but like in sport, period. Because any sport or esport where there is any sort of debate, even a small debate, that's not a Faker. because it's so unanimous and it's so comically obvious that he is the best player, and no one's even close. Like, you can literally do the thing where you split Faker's career in half, and he's still the GOAT, and it's still not close. And so it's just so interesting, like this level of dominance. You have to look and find people who have just like absolutely ran their sport for years, like maybe like I don't know, like a Michael Phelps or Serena Williams or something like that, or I don't know. I'm sure there's other good examples that people would have, but you're just in such an elite club when you're like you can't say he's like a Michael Jordan because there's tons of debate about him and LeBron. It's like it's close. It's just so not close here that I think it makes him so unique. And it's so hard to be going towards this World Finals and not just considering them massive favorites in their 4th straight World Finals, which has never been done. 3 straight World Finals, I don't think had ever been done. No other team has ever even made 2. And they've now had multiple times of winning back-to-back World Championships as T1, where Faker was there for both of them, before any other team has even won 2. And let alone, like, there's only a couple of players in the world that have even won 2 that aren't on T1, right? It's just insane. And, it's going to be this telecom war. There's always like that argument of kind of like, oh, it's like that DRX story. It's that crazy thing that could happen. DRX wasn't supposed to be able to beat T1 either. It went 5 games. They made it happen. So there is always that element of you just don't know. Like, right? Maybe KT just goes Super Saiyan and is able to kind of continue that magic and take down T1. It's obviously possible. But just like KT versus Genji, I think because T1 has done it so many times, you have to come into the finals thinking that they are massive favorites to win a ridiculous 6th world championship for Faker.
Absolutely. And to touch on your sports point, I think, obviously it is the case for Faker where there's no discussion for greatest all time. I think with other sports, it's more difficult because they've been around for so long, right? And like we've never really had a competitive league without Faker. And I try to not think about that because it would just be so sad. So hopefully he can play forever. But I do wonder, like when in Michael Jordan's prime or whatnot, was he viewed as Faker because there was no LeBron to compare or whatnot and all that stuff. So I definitely think it's hard to find sports analogies for Faker. But yeah, I don't know. He's just insane. I hope he just keeps going forever.
And now with this core that he has done it with, I feel like all of them have ascended to not to Faker's level. No, there's Faker, but then there's this core of T1 with owner Guma and Keria with him, that are like the next tier, and then there's everybody else. So it's like you're spacing it out, and the tier 2 includes you getting this group there, but also now it's like, you know how big of a fan base like
Is Canyon no longer your GOAT?
Dude, it actually made me so sad watching the series because and too, because coming into this world, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it. Kanan's going to get another world championship. And then people won't be able to be like, Bengi has 3 world or what, all these other arguments that people would detract from Kanan being Jungle Goat. But then, and he actually played bad too. And I was like, oh my. It makes me so
not Bengi, but what about if owner has 3?
Dude, yeah, because I mean it's a short time period, so it feels weird. But owner Guma and Keria are it's a league above everybody else except for Faker, who's the freaking in the stratosphere. So I mean it is just crazy. It's super cool to watch. It is also kind of interesting how I too was like, oh, are they going to be able to do it again without Zeus? I actually thought like that was one of the biggest like dramas of the off season. Not only all the contract negotiation stuff and all the drama around, negotiating and stuff, but even just them without Zeus and like breaking up that squad. I was pretty sad. I was pretty heartbroken. But now they plug Doran in and they're still doing it. It's just insane.
I mean, T1 have done that with so many top laners. It's crazy when you think about it because a lot of the top laners didn't stay around for that long. They've actually gone through so many over the years. and always seem to be able to just like plug people into their system and kind of make it work. Obviously, all the players that are getting plugged in have incredible talent, right? It's not to take away from them, but I do think clearly like the T1 systems as a whole, whatever you want to call it, like their their managers, their coaching system, whatever their style
Faker
is.
system.
Yeah, faker system, whatever the hell it is working insanely well because it's not just been one or two players that this has worked with. Now there's a whole bunch, and it is always weird talking about like greatest of all time because that's clearly faker. But then you get into non mid lane roles for who's the best, and that is a discussion. People will have very strong opinions on who's the best AD carry all time. Some people will be really strongly arguing for Uzi, right? And say like, oh, but like his mechanical peak was so above his peers. A lot of people think ruler. Some people will argue, def. When you're going into jungle, there's like Canyon. There's now people are talking about owner. Some people strongly believe Bengi because of his accomplishments. There's top lane. There's a whole bunch of different people, including even the Shy in that conversation that people will argue for. But now you are hitting that point where it's like, yeah, it feels weird because you're comparing a couple years in owner's career to a decade or whatever of some other jungler's career. But when in a couple years you've accomplished so much, you at least have to really seriously consider it, right? And owner, as much as you were talking about earlier, Medios, and obviously a lot of people talk about this, the idea that T1 doesn't just crush all the time. They don't just win all the LCK and whatever. And their players have these up and down times. And it's like Guma had his struggles where he's getting subbed out for Smash, and people are saying, maybe he shouldn't even be the starter anymore. And Carry has had his struggles, and Faker has had his laning phase. And you think back to the, even to last year with like him being so frustrated with his play that he's banging his head against the wall. And, Doran has been criticized a lot of times. I feel like Owner has been pretty damn near recession proof. Like this guy has been almost always consistent. Like I'm not saying there's never been a bad moment, but I would say for the most part through this whole stretch, Owner's just been damn good. Like even when T1 are struggling. So to me, it's an interesting conversation. I can see the pain in your eyes as you're like, damn it, maybe Canyon isn't the jungle goat anymore. But and I don't think it's just titles should not be the only thing, right? There should be a much larger discussion.
Owners play backs it up too, so it's not just titles. Yeah,
I mean, Owner's been very, very good, and I think his play style is a little quieter than some of the other people who get a lot of recognition for jungle. Like Canyon's known for his Nidalee. You've got people like Kanavi, Tarzan, who play more carry stuff. They play like Kiana or like Zed jungle, or really flashy things that you're going to remember, who get a lot of kills and pop off. But Owner is, he's just so solid. And I think you will hear a lot more people talking about him now, especially with Canyon, maybe not having the best tournament, and people are starting to criticize him a little bit more. But Owner, yeah, he plays what his team needs. He'll play tanks, he'll play bruisers, and he, for the most part, will just play for his team. He'll like sacrifice camps, go for ganks, not in like a full-on Maokai Sejuani, jungler on a leash type of way, but he just does his job well and makes really good decisions. So I totally agree with what you're saying. He's just been insanely consistent for this team. He's never really been the guy you're looking at and just like, wow, he threw the shit out of that one.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think finals. Yeah, I mean, we could talk a little bit about finals. I feel like we've touched so much about the teams that there's not that much to say, in my mind about finals. I do think it's going to be really exciting, but I coming into it, like I said, I feel like you cannot logically predict against T1 because I feel like they're playing at such a high level and have done it so many times. I do feel myself kind of pulling for KT a little bit because I do kind of love that underdog story, and I love the idea of BDD, who to me has been one of the best mid laners in the world for like damn near 10 years. Getting his title. I love the idea of this kind of like underdog story. But I do find it really hard to kind of like craft in my mind and try to build like an actual logical argument for why they should be better. Because I think that if you're looking at the totality of the year, there's like just not a world in which you can make an argument for Perfect and Peter over their, counterparts, or even for Docdom over his counterpart. Like T1 should, in theory, be heavily favored in the side lanes, like in bot and in top. Even Cuz, I don't think, as good as Cuz has been, to me, Owner still has been better. And then BDD, you could say like individual performance is definitely better in the LCK, but like it's Faker and it's at Worlds and he's playing out of his mind and is the most clutch player ever. So it feels really hard when you're kind of looking at, piece by piece. So I think to believe in KT, you have to really believe in them continuing to play above the level that we had seen from them from the rest of the year and just playing with no fear, right? You have to hope that they can go into it in the similar way that they did against Gen G and just play their game. If things go wrong, just keep playing your game and play at an incredibly high level, which then I think will be treated for like with an actually incredible finals.
And I think one of the things that does give me hope for a really good finals is that BDD has shown the clutch factor that is attributed, to the actual winners. BDD, like, remember the first game, and he's on Yone. All these like clutch plays that we're talking about. KT were in bad spots in this game. Bad spots. They were going to lose. They were going to lose. Genji were pushing down mid, and they just like create this scramble, and BDD's coming in from the back, and then he like they snipes a couple kills here, and then like Ruler probably shouldn't have valked forward, but then he kills Ruler also, and then they open up the space for a second defensive siege where they then defend on the top side, and it's him going in again and opening up the follow up opportunities for Doctum and everyone, and it's just like I think that I hope that finals is going to be clutch play, clutch play, clutch play, and I feel like that's what we're going to get because of the intensity of Worlds. That's what you really do sift to the top because there is no second chance at Worlds, at least not in the knockout stages, and so that's kind of what does rise to the top is a little bit of luck, like Faker said, and a lot of clutch. And I think that KT have shown that. Also, the other good thing for KT is that they very quickly identified the meta that they want to play. They literally started out the tournament spamming Caitlyn, and then continued using a lot of these strong strategies. So I am very hopeful that is a very close and exciting series. I know a lot of people are already people love underdog stories and they're super addicted, especially after DRX. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some bangers. If I'm predicting 3-2 for T1. I really feel like the stage is set for Doran to kind of pop off because I've been a bit of a Doran doubter for T1 since watching them. I know Azael has been a big fan of him, and like you guys mentioned earlier, I thought he played so well against top esports tonight, and so it's kind of cool to see him where he kind of had a reputation for being like a choker in big high pressure events, but obviously joining T1, who has like the exact opposite effect, it seems like it's kind of like rubbing off on him, and he's now kind of leveling up. So I think the stage is set for him to have like a really crazy finals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would be really happy because I've been a fan of Doran for a long time. I just feel like his average level of play over the years has been so high, but then he has these like really bad memorable moments that people associate with him, and you do kind of have that opportunity to rewrite your own history. And the same thing is true with KT. So I hope you're right. I hope it is a 3-2. I'm feeling more like a 3-1 or something for T1. But hopefully it'll be a banger. Do you have a prediction?
Oh, I'm gonna go 3-2 with Meteos also. And in the end, I have to side with T1, but I think the roller coaster. I mean, the roller coaster is unpredictable. I guess it's also Doran, the Krug Lord, versus Peter for most lovable, despite being able to overcome. Yeah, if they make a mistake, then they still just get back in there. So both sides are definitely worth cheering for.
Yeah, should be a really, really fun final. And that's going to wrap it up for us here on The Dive, driven by Kia. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Remember, follow us on YouTube so you don't miss an episode of The Dive. You can also check us out on Spotify and everywhere else. Worlds is going to return it's Saturday Pacific time because of the time changes and stuff like that. So it's Saturday at 11 p.m. Pacific is when Worlds is going to start. Obviously, if you're in Eastern time and stuff, do the adjustment. Just check it out on LOL Esports. But it will be about a week, and then we're going to be back for the World Finals. And I hope that we are in for an absolute treat. Until then, enjoy yourselves. We'll see you next time.
And remember, next year we come back as LCS Dive.